Good morning, everybody. Time for another Tom and Shane podcast. And joining us, of course, as he does every month, is the money guru, Mike McCormick. Many years a talk radio and financial expert. He's a regular guest on podcasts like this one. We're happy to have him. He's a small business owner, McCormick Financial Advisors, and we'll put the link to his website in the description below once we process the film or process the thing, whatever it is. And he's a specialty personal wealth management company. He's a Yale graduate. He's the father of two lovely girls, and he's a family of runners, and which I guess if you make the wrong investment, Mike, you got to run from the, from the investors. So I guess that training comes in handy. So,
slow and steady, Tom.
All right. Well, Mike is here. We want to talk about, Mike, how to retire rich. Only two of the three of us here are retired. That would make you the odd man out. So Shane and I are both living the good life. So you want to tell the folks who would like to live like Tom and Shane how to do it?
Well, the irony, of course, is that you guys should be paving the way.
We should be doing this, huh?
I feel like I'm getting set up. I'll put a few things out there and set the ground rules for a good discussion today. And it's great to be here, Tom. I always enjoy being on with you and Shane. And I do also need to interject that as a financial advisor, as a fiduciary for my clients, there's a big disclaimer that says, whatever I say can't really be used against me. So, of course, consult your own financial advisor, consult your own tax professional. And, of course, if you like to, feel free to give me a ring or Tom or Shane. We're always available and really appreciate you guys listening. So retiring in style is what Tom led me into here. There's three things, and we can go deep on each one of these things. But there's the prepare stage, which I think that we'll have a real lively discussion because there's things that you need to recognize about yourself when you prepare. The next one is plan. And when you're planning, it helps to use an expert. There's a lot of information out there these days on the interweb. And then the last one is prune. And so with every good plan that we have, things change. Things change exterior circumstances from tax rates to stock market returns. To things about your own life, to sickness, health, life, and goals. And so recognize that whatever it is that you set up, there will never be this autopilot thing where you just get to say, Jesus, take the wheel, everything's honky-dory. That hopefully comes, but there's always times when you need to say, okay, it's time to just review. Am I on track? Do I need to make changes from where I went to? And in terms of when you should start, who is this podcast for? This is for everybody. This is for anybody that's thinking about retirement. So with that, I think that we can start deep into the concepts that I have to say, but let's start with a question right now, which is for Tom and Shane, who are retired. Why don't you guys come out each with just one simple tip that you want to make sure that anybody listening about how to retire in style is going to be able to take away with before I start filling their ears with mumbo jumbo, right?
All right, Shane, take that away.
Well, I think that it's always important to look at the assets that you have, and you have to put together a pro and conventional plan of when you want to probably diverse yourself of assets at certain periods in your life. And so that you're already prepared for it, you've planned for it, you've thought about it, you've thought it through. And it's not something that you just decide and go out and do. You always want to prepare for everything that Mike is talking about in the long term as you go through life, not so you know what to anticipate. It especially comes down to things like RSPs, your retirement savings plans that you have and things of that nature. And the other things that you may have purchased as assets for long-term investment. So that would be my advice. Just put together a plan, anticipate when you're going to divest yourself of assets.
How long did it take you to retire, Shane? Did you set a date and then work toward that date, or did the date just come and you said, I'm done?
No, I just I've just gone through the process without any concern about making a decision to retire, because I've worked basically for myself, since 2005, and so yeah, not an issue.
Yeah. The wife and I probably started, Mike, I think around, I don't know, when I was 55, probably. The biggest thing that we had to do was retire debt. We had to get the house payment done. We had to get car payments all done, credit cards all clear. We wanted to retire debt free. So that was our big our big step, and we had a 7-year plan to do that, and got it done. And that's how we that's how we did it. We did set a date on when we were going to do this, and we've never looked back. It's the planning's the part. It really is, that. But I think debt is the biggest thing that holds people back when they retire. Is that if you're saddled with a lot of debt and you don't have the income, now when you do retire, you've got a lot less expenses. We're not driving to work every day, for example, so our gas is less. We're eating at home more, but we're not buying lunches out, which is better. So there are a lot of advantages to retirement where you can save, where your daily expenses are not as much.
And you guys, great points, super excellent follow through on what I was hoping, because you did talk about preparing, getting actually the facts, getting the budget, getting listing all your debt. It's so critical for people to every once in a while, even if they don't go to the next step of planning, to get an awareness in this day of the day and age of identity theft. There could be things going on with your credit that you don't know. So filling out some form of a personal financial statement. And a personal financial statement is the sort of ubiquitous passport that the financial industry uses. You can Google it online and you'll be able to find a form that you can fill out. I recommend that you just do a spreadsheet or a little tabulated list. The sophisticated programs sort of, they grab your attention and then they grab your data, and then you might not have it where you want. But going and listing, how much are we spending? Did you know that you can call your credit card companies? I put all my expenses on my credit card and I call them, or I go online and I can print out a detailed report of my spending for an entire year. I don't need to guess how much I need in retirement. I just need to look and see how much I'm spending right now. Of course, there's some expenses that are going to change. Those are pretty easy to accommodate. But see all the bills you have, see where all your debt is, and then, of course, bring in all your assets. What do you have? How far along are you in your career? Have you actually saved up $2 to $4 million and you can retire tomorrow? Awesome. Write it down. And if you're not there yet, that's where Tom talks about having a detailed plan on how to get there. And in terms of having a detailed plan, that has to do with rearranging your balance sheet to get into that goal zone that you're at. And Tom mentioned paying down debt. Paying down debt is something that we don't talk about these days because money is so cheap, right? It doesn't make anybody money except for you to pay down debt. The people that are loaning you the money don't want you to do it. They want you to borrow more and pay them more. Paying down debt in today's environment, well, if you're in a high tax bracket, you can take a 3% mortgage and turn that into a 4% rate of return to pay off your own home mortgage. Yes, of course, the stock market's done much better than that in the past, but we can't count on that, can we? You can count on a guaranteed return of 4% when you're in a high income tax bracket and you pay off a 3% loan. One of the best things that you can do that makes you feel better because it's a safe investment move. You're investing in yourself. Other things that when you're planning that you're doing is you're taking assets maybe out of things that would be not performing and moving them into other areas. This might mean taking more risk, but you can do things to offset that, like maybe holding more liquid cash in your emergency savings account. So when you work with a professional planner, we're going to take a whole look at your entire net worth. We're going to take a look at your entire earnings capacity, and we're going to figure out the ways that we can get you to that goal that you want to achieve. But then the last part is really, where does that sit you? How does your gut sit with that amount of risk and volatility? This is something in the prepare stage that you really need to check and say, I know I'm a conservative person. or I know I'm a risky person. And then the pruning part is just acknowledging that just like with anything in life, the best laid plans are achieved when you follow through with them, but it doesn't mean that they don't need little nudges on either sides like this. So, Tom, when you've been in retirement, you had this plan, and it sounds fairy tale almost, that you decided you were going to get here. You made the commitment, and you had the discipline to actually follow through and make those debt payments and put money into savings, commit it to your Roth IRAs, and allow it to grow. But there must have been some things that you and your wife had to talk about making changes about. I know that there's been a couple health issues for you guys. How have those bumps along the road affected your plan for you?
Well, it was tough. We had to change our lifestyle quite a bit. We cut the cable, we cut the paper, any expense, any expense that was out there that we didn't absolutely have to have. We cut it out. And, I've always said that if you're willing to live for a short period of time, like most people won't, you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. And that was what was driving us. You talked about the 4%. That's kind of the sweet spot, that if you have a retirement fund, you should be able to take 4% out of that every year, and the principal, stays pretty much the same. And, there's no guarantee of that, as Mike talked about with the market. You never know what things are going to go or where they're going to go. The other thing that we did as we got older, as I said, I started planning this at 55. The other thing that we did is, because of our age, and we looked at more risky investment because of our age. We got nothing to lose. but we went about 70-30 risk, I think, Mike.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we went pretty high.
Well, let's unpack, if we can talk about that a bit, Tom.
Yeah, well, the return, if it happens, is good. If it doesn't, you're kind of SOL.
To have 70% of your investments in stocks has been a beautiful choice. We've had an incredible long bull market in stock returns that have just exceeded anybody's expectations. And we're not talking about where it's going from here. But you would not have been able to participate in that unless you made a commitment to have some risk in your life. And so the way we talk to clients about this is, imagine 3 buckets of money, that one's close, one's medium far away, and one's almost out of reach. You can barely touch it. That money that's barely out of reach, that would be your IRA and other long-term retirement assets that you can put at that level of risk, knowing that in any 10-year period, the stock market hasn't lost. So if you can just hang on, well, then you'll get that return that we've been enjoying. And the way to hang on is to hold on loosely. Probably one of your top set hits back in the day, Tom. So by having that money distant, you also in turn have money that is close to you that is providing comfort. And that can be in the form of no debt. That's a comfort item right there. You have resources that you could potentially tap into if you needed to. But also having some level of opportunistic cash. And this stage of the cycle, or at this stage of your lives, having money that you can deploy to fill a healthcare need, or maybe even help a grandchild out. It's important to have money that's still liquid and accessible. So by bucketing this money, this is one of the ways that the planners get you comfortable saying, well, overall, we're not at a lot of risk. And here's why. It's because we can meet any needs that might happen in the next year, next 3 years. And we're not at risk of you outliving your resources, because you're still recognizing that having money out at risk is going to serve you best. And you're working with somebody, or you've got the right discipline to not make a bad decision. And Shane, I think that you have the right discipline in making decisions. How would you caution people in retirement from making poor decisions? We just saw Mr. Madoff passed away, and it turned out that he was preying on mostly middle-class people, normal people that might be watching this podcast, had trusted this person and made a catastrophic error in judgment, and got very unlucky in the context too. But I can't speak to all aspects of human behavior. But when you're looking at all the risks that we are today. How do you make good decisions, or how do you recommend our listeners manage their expectations and good decision making?
Anytime you invest, as we've discussed, it's a risk. So your anticipation of success is welcome, but there's always a downside to it as well. So you have to have a pro and con list with your investments. What are you willing to accept as a loss? Because your first loss is your best. And secondly, what kind of a profit are you prepared to accept? But it's not just the importance of that profit that has to be part of the decision. Is what would you plan to do with the money if you decide to take that profit, and where do you go with it? As you get older, the plan should remain the same. The key is to reduce risk on a long-term basis as much as you can. That's why things of looking at maybe there's no opportunity to urban or primary purchase of real estate, or secondary cities like Bozeman. So small town, there are lots of small towns out there that have lots of very inexpensive properties that you could look at, that over 20, 30, years could be a fantastic investment. But the difficulty you have about that is it near where you live, and managing the property and so forth. So it's a matter of making these determinations in the plan that you start off with. And as you move through the decades of your life, you follow the choices that you planned ahead to make. And it sounds simple, but it's actually complex to sit down and make that decision. The hardest thing for people to decide is to sell anything. Because Tom and I always laugh about the fact that, is it something I want or something I need? Well, once you own it, you want to keep it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm of the the baby boomer generation, and I have shirts that are 30 years old. Not just because they're still viable, but because I just can't get rid of anything. So it's just being practical, common sense, and knowing that you cannot take any additional risk as you move through your life. You want to reduce risk.
That's true. Wendy has the right idea, Mike and Shane. What you don't spend, you don't have to earn. That's exactly right. So thanks, Wendy, for weighing in today with us. And she's exactly right. That as we were saying, paying off debt is giving yourself a raise.
Getting that prepare step really handled thoroughly sometimes can require the use of great programs that you can find, like mints.com. This is something where you can put in all your credit cards, and we talked about how it can budget your expenses, but it can also help you with all your debt. Dave Ramsey has wonderful tips on debt repayment. I recommend anybody that wants to pay off debt, go and consult his steps. There's a lot of resources out there, but not as many as you want. And the resources never, to watch out for fraudulent salespeople is one thing. To watch out for, aggressive salespeople is another, right? If you walk into the butcher, you're going to get meat, but if you walk into the supermarket, you might get a balanced diet. So careful what store you're walking into. If you're walking into a credit counseling company that makes money off of counseling people about their credits, they're probably going to not help you. They're going to make more money off you. If you're going into a mortgage company, they're probably going to want to loan you more money for your house. If you're walking to a stockbroker's office, they're probably going to want to sell you some stocks. That's what I would guess. So having that discipline and almost being able to remove yourself from your emotions and your histories and take an objective view like you guys have seems to lead to the most success. And like our listener commented, spending less, it can be really refreshing. It can be liberating. And sometimes it can be easier than you might think.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that we did too, I created a budget out of Excel, a spreadsheet budget, and that's helped immensely because you've got utilities, you know what those are, you got insurance, you know what that is, and if there are credit card payments, you have those, and how much money's coming in, and how much you have in savings, and all of that, and when you look at paying bills and everything, you say, okay, well, I've got to pay these and this and that, but I don't have car license every month, but I've got it in there.
Yeah.
Because it's going to come up. Property tax, I don't have it in there, or I have it in there, but it doesn't come up every month. So,
what always gets me is new tires for the car.
Well, that too.
$500 bill that happens every few years that you've completely forgotten about. And you're like, where did all the money go this month? Oh, I had to get new tires.
One of the single most important things that you need to learn to manage is food. And because it's directly involved in every day of your life. So food costs are important. When you look at the costs on a daily basis, say $10 a day, 30 days, that's $300 for one person in a month. 2 people, it's $600. If it's $20 a day, all of a sudden, you've jumped to $1,200 for 2 people in a month. So, is $20 a day enough for you to buy the food that you should anticipate to live on during the course of a month? Certainly should be, but you still have to go out and anticipate what you buy to, on a basis of $20 a day, because some people may have three meals a day. Some people like me, I just basically have 2 and eat some raw vegetables, during the day, or an apple. But, the bottom line is I have my food costs down to exactly what I want it to be, which is about $8 a day, $3 to $4 for breakfast, and then $4 for dinner, and so food's a very important thing. It is something you can budget, and it's not a difficult thing to budget, but you need to include it in your plans.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's excellent advice. Absolutely correct. Yeah. Hey, if in case you didn't know, we are using StreamYard, Mike, to bring these episodes to you. And there's a free version of that. You can get information about that in the description down below. And also, if you're watching us on YouTube, hey, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll never miss another podcast with Tom and Shane and Mike. And whenever we have Mike here, of course, and like us, leave a comment because, well, that helps grow our channel. And if you'd like to support us, we will support you. Shane and I will be happy to give you our personal input. Just check out Patreon below. We've got 3 levels you can support us at, and you get all kinds of perks and things for doing that. And we hope that you will take advantage of doing that. And of course, don't forget TomandShane.com. Lots of articles and tips and things over there as well. So Mikey, final thoughts here. What do you think?
Well, from a practical purpose, everybody wants to know, how much do you need? When can I retire? How much do I need? Right? Simple questions to speak, difficult questions to answer. The biggest feature in that discussion is, will you be buying your own health care? Medicare works. It works for millions and millions of people. It still has expenses getting the supplement coverage, and different show, Google it, that sort of thing. But to retire before 65 means that you'll be supporting your own health care during some of the more expensive times of your life. Make sure you have accurate numbers, because those are significant, and they really are the main reason why we see people working longer these days. Even if you have a couple $1 million, fears about healthcare expenses, from just normal routine visits all the way to the feared rest home, are what keep people up at night. So don't be surprised when that becomes your fear as well, because that is the number one concern: outliving and out expending your resources due to healthcare and becoming a burden on loved ones. There's a few things we can do to help with that. All we got time to do right now is just name it out there. So be careful.
Yeah. Well, the other thing we need to mention about Medicare is if you have not paid into it, you don't get it. If if the wife has been a stay-at-home mom and raised the kids and didn't work, you need to plan that into your expenses, because you're going to have to buy Medicare. and it's around $400 a month, I think, plus a supplement.
Mm-hmm.
Because Medicare is only going to cover 80% of whatever the costs of A and B. And there's also D, the drug thing. So you got to pay for that as well. And if you're late signing up for any of those, then there's a penalty for the rest of your days for not signing up on it. So make sure if you're reaching retirement age, make sure you know the ins and outs of Medicare. Get some, make sure you get a health supplement plan in place, and that also has to go into your budget every month, because that's going to be a monthly in and out payment. So
forever.
Yeah. Shane, any final thoughts before we say goodbye to Mike?
We've covered everything well on this topic today. It's great to see you, Mike. Thanks for joining us. Really much appreciated.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun. Thanks for allowing me, guys.
All right, Mike McCormick, McCormick Financial Services. We'll put Mike's information in the description below. Once we process this, it'll be about an hour or so to get it up on the air with the descriptions and everything down below. But obviously, it's there live right now because you're watching us live. So we appreciate that very much. So. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Let's see. Today is Thursday. We are on the radio Saturday. Shane and I will be on the radio Saturday. So you will absolutely want to check that out because, hey, we're there. Go to kmmsam.com. We're on the air 8 to 11. You can listen anywhere in the world. No credit card, no information needed, nothing to sign up for, nothing to join. All you got to do is show up. And if you missed any part of this show and want to hear the rest of it, all of our past shows are at kmmsam.com. Just click on Tom and Shane's podcast over there, and you'll be taken over there immediately. And we thank Mike very much for being here, of course. Always a pleasure to chat with Mike. Shane, absolutely, always here. Greatest co-host in radio and video history, and half man, half amazing, as I call him. So we're happy to have him here every week. And we will see everybody. We'll talk to you on the radio on Saturday. We'll see you on the podcast next Tuesday. Mike, thanks so much again. And we are out of here.